You're out of the service, just got home, and you're glad it's over. But maybe it's not really over because you brought a drug problem home with you, and you're finding out that the street is a pretty tough place to solve it. If you're a veteran with a drug problem, there's a place you can go, a place where you won't get hassled or arrested.
May I have the number of the VA Drug Treatment Center, please?
It's up to you. Immediate help is available at your VA Drug Treatment Center. All you have to do is call.
Back in 1918, these were pretty exciting pictures. The fighting men of America coming home from France. Down Fifth Avenue, they marched with their brass shining and grins a mile wide. The crowds cheered and waved flags, and the doughboys home from Chateau Thierry and Belleau Wood planned on picking up their lives just where they'd left them. Only for a lot of them, it didn't work out that way. Not exactly. Some of these marching men wanted to go back to school, but discovered they didn't have the money. Others learned the jobs they'd left behind were gone, or if they were there, they didn't want them. They wanted something better. But for these returning soldiers, no legislation had been passed, nor any program mapped out to give them the break they deserved. They got medals, but 15 years later, some of these men were selling apples on street corners. Others were known contemptuously as bonus marchers.
What about this time, Mac? Are these Navy boys going to get the same sort of deal? What about this man who's fought the long, tough fight up Italy and has been knocked out? What's going to happen to him? Is it going to be the same for these GIs hitting the beach at Saipan? Or the Siegfried Line, or the Gothic Line, or any line that's needed hitting? When it's all over, is it going to be like last time for them?
No, this time it's going to be different.
Yeah? What makes you so sure?
Because in Washington, there were a group of congressmen with long memories who were in the last war. They knew that when a man gets out of the Army or Navy or Marines, he's worried most about a job, an education, and a home. And that's why Congress, led by the President, passed the law, the Servicemen's Readjustment Act of 1944, better known as the GI Bill of Rights. And to make sure it works, a Veterans Administration is already busy in Washington with General Frank Hines in charge.
Sounds all right. Sounds great, in fact. But I'm from Missouri. You got to show me, brother.
Happy to. Let's take a typical example. We'll call this corporal who saw action in Italy, Vic Jones. Here he's signing his name to one of the most important documents of his career, his honorable discharge. After that, he bucks his last GI line to get his mustering out pay.
Everybody get the same pay?
No. The amount depends on the length of a man's service. $100 for the man who's only worn a uniform 2 months. $200 for the GIs who served here in the States more than 60 days. And $300 for the soldier who's been overseas, like Jones. He gets $100 now, another $100 in a month, and the last $100 in 2 months. Pretty nice, huh? After all, $100 is a lot of bucks.
I'm not complaining, so far. But changing over from a GI to a civilian costs money. By the time a guy has bought himself a new outfit and looked around, trying to remember his saluting days are over, most of his dough is pretty well shot. What happens then?
That's where the GI Bill of Rights comes in. Jones, by law, like every discharged soldier, must report back to his draft board. There, if he wants his old job back, he finds out if he's eligible and how to go about it.
But suppose his ex-boss doesn't want to give him back his old job.
If necessary, the local draft board will get the United States attorney to go to bat for the corporal at no cost. And his ex-boss will have to rehire him for at least a year. If not at his old job, then one with equivalent seniority, status, and pay.
Not bad, not bad. But what about the guy who was unemployed before he entered the Army? And what about a guy like Jones here who wants a better job than when he went in?
The United States Employment Service has 1,500 offices throughout the country with a special Veterans Employment Representative to assist ex-soldiers in finding the right job.
But what if the right job doesn't turn up so fast and he's unemployed for a while?
Then, like Tabor here, who's eligible, he receives unemployment insurance, $20 a week up to a maximum of 1 year, depending on his length of service. Or take the case of a man like Albert Falk, who goes into his own business after he's discharged. If things are a little slow in getting started, and he's earning less than $100 a month, then through the GI Bill of Rights, he receives a check each month, making up the difference.
You said something about an education. What about a man like Sergeant Brown here who's just been let out? Before the Army got him, he was going to school. Now he'd like to go back.
Veterans Administration offices have been set up in every state, and it's here the ex-soldier goes if he wants to continue his education under the GI Bill of Rights. All he has to do when interviewed is prove that he was not over 25 when he entered the service, or show that his education was interrupted.
You mean he can get any kind of education he wants?
Now you're getting the idea. Any kind of education and in any part of the country. High school, trade school, college, university. The ex-sergeant, after consulting the Veterans Administration, decides he wants to go to New York University. And here he calls on the registrar, who also serves as a veterans advisor. Brown tells the registrar what he'd like to do, and the courses he'd like to study. Then...
Don't tell me I know. The GI Bill of Rights looks after the money end, too.
That's right. Tuition is taken care of, funds are provided for laboratory fees, books, supplies, and equipment are included. Through the GI Bill of Rights, the government pays Sergeant Brown's school up to $500 a year, while Brown gets $50 a month for subsistence. If he were married, he gets $75.
For how long?
Depending on the length of service. A veteran can go to school from 1 to 4 years. And if the ex-soldier's already completed college and wants to take a postgraduate course, such as law, there's nothing to stop him. Oh yes, one more point. Every soldier or sailor should remember that refresher and retraining courses are open to everyone regardless of age. If a man wants to, he can brush up on his training or plan to take new courses. Nice house, isn't it?
Sure, it's nice. And if I'm lucky after I get out, in 5 or 10 years, I'll have one pretty much like it.
Well, George Tobin, just driving in, didn't have to wait any 5 or 10 years. As soon as he got out of the Navy, he applied to the Director of Finance, Veterans Administration in Washington. And they were able to help him get a loan by guaranteeing it up to $2,000. Of course, George, like every veteran, had to meet certain conditions, prove he was a reliable citizen. But he was able to do that all right.
Well, I guess I was all wrong about it being like last time. But wait a second. What about the beautiful blonde? Don't tell me the GI Bill of Rights guarantees every returning serviceman one of those, too.
No, that's still up to the veteran. Just as it's up to him to take advantage of the GI Bill of Rights and not expect the government to come after him. The GI Bill of Rights is not a reward or a handout or a gravy train, but rather an American way to make it easier for each man to take his place once again in the community and get some of those things for which he went to war. A job, a business, an education, a home.
Ed, you've impressed a lot of people here with your ability to do a job. So we want you to help run the new department we're opening. We're giving you a chance as a supervisor.
Me, a supervisor? Well, hey, that's great. But...
No buts. You prove that hiring the vet pays off. Come on, supervisor. Let's take a look at your new office.
The disabled veteran. He's given a lot, and he's got a lot more to give. Contact your local VA or State Employment Service office.
How do you do? Week after week for the past few years, it's been my pleasure to report to you on the industrial family that serves the nation, United States Steel. Now I want you to have a look at the record. I want you to see what's happening. I want you to hear from the more than 280,000 workers in that industrial family. They are shattering production records in peacetime, just as they shattered production records in wartime. And they're mighty proud of the fact. Let's check with one of them. Oh, Jim. Robbins. You fellows are pretty proud of your production records, aren't you?
We sure are, Mr. Hicks. Of course, you know I wasn't here during the war.
I know. You did about a 4-year hitch, didn't you, Jim?
Air Force.
But your dad was here.
My dad's been here for 35 years. One of my uncles more than that. I've got relatives all over the place. Well, see you later.
Yes, relatives all over the place. While Jim was away, they supplied him from the home front, turning out steel for tanks instead of cars, for guns instead of refrigerators. All production was geared to winning the war. Back from defending America, Jim is again in the business of building America. A strong America so essential to world recovery. It's no small order. It requires new and better facilities for the new and better steels advanced by research and technology during the war. Long before the war's end, United States Steel was planning the reconversion to peacetime production. But let's go back and pick up Jim Robbins' story from the day he came home.
Mrs. Robbins.
Oh, Jim. Oh.
Good old Betsy. Don't tell me she still runs.
Well, she walks, but in a very dignified manner.
The old car, that was just one of the things we wanted to replace. We wanted new homes and new home appliances, new refrigerators, new washing machines, and new stoves. There were so many things we'd all been waiting for.
Hello, Dad.
Hello, son. It's been a long time.
Sure has. Where's Mom?
In the kitchen.
Remember me?
Your hands are filthy. Go upstairs and wash.
Okay, Mom. That's for you, dear. Thought you might like it.
Oh, like it? Oh, I'm crazy about it.
That's some Bertha's garden. One of Hitler's own personal bodyguards wore it.
I'll plant some philodendron in it.
Oh, no, you don't. This is for you, Mom.
For me?
Look inside of it.
Real handmade lace. Oh, it's lovely.
It's from Brussels.
From Brussels.
That's in Belgium, Mom.
The old hometown is going to look pretty small after all the places you've been, but you'll get used to it.
Look, it could be the smallest town in the world, but it's my home and I like it.
The civilian suit, the tweeds Jim dreamed about during those years of service, well, they didn't fit Jim anymore. The house didn't fit either. There were so many things that Jim and America needed after the war. How about the safety shoes? They still look all right. They'll come in mighty handy on the job. The job. The important job of making steel for a greater America. 1 in 4 in United States Steel is a returned veteran.
All right, Mr. Robbins. Will you step in here, please?
Thank you. Hello, Jim.
Hello, Monty.
Have a seat, won't you?
Thank you.
Place looking different to you?
Good, not different.
I understand you're interested in some night school courses. Anything particular?
No, nothing in particular.
In that case, I believe I would study the list of available courses. Sure you'll find what you want. Make up your mind, we'll start from there.
All right, good.
How's the folks?
Oh, fine. Of course, we're a little crowded, 4 people in one house, but we'll make out.
The employee training program began long before the war. The students are steel workers of all ages, improving themselves in the skills of making steel.
The DAV field service units are rolling again, and one of these disabled American veterans' mobile offices will be in your area soon to help veterans and their families. If you were injured or disabled during military duty, you can get help with problems concerning disability compensation, education, medical care, and other benefits. For dates and locations of the service units, check your local newspaper or call your DAV National Service Office at this number.
Welcome home. Well done. This can't keep a fella from putting down his ideas. Something is going to add up here. His own air-conditioned castle with a deep freeze. A cooler for beer. A great big lawn where Bet and Bubsy will welcome him home. No, sir, all this can't stop a fella from keeping his ideas. Mighty swell this is. A long time coming. They're all here, sure enough. Yes, there's no place like home. But what's happened here, back in the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Are you all living here?
All of them in this 3-room apartment. But where have Bet and Bubsy hung out? Oh, no. Bart is back now. He'll dig out a spot for the 3 of them. Uncle Rod knows. There isn't a spot in town, not a rabbit hole.
We'll see about that. A man can have resource and gumption. We'll find a spot. We'll find a home right now. Before lunch. And be back.
They want a roof of their own, that's all. A place of their own. No rooms? Well, we'll take an apartment. This one looks nice. Sure, it's nice, and there is an apartment. Someone has heard of someone who knew someone who mentioned that someone might move out. Hunting a home. The most intense, prolonged, widespread, desperate hunt in history. With the hunters running into the millions. No rentals. No rentals since last Wednesday. But I do have a house for sale at $18,000. I should have held that house until tomorrow. I could have gotten $20,000. Any city has thousands of dwellings. There must be some spot, somewhere. 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 Anywhere.
Somewhere.
Somewhere. Anywhere.
Anywhere. Anywhere. Anywhere. Anywhere. Some spot somewhere where they can live as a family. Yet everyone is to blame. There's been a lag in home construction for more than 15 years. During the past 5 years, the population of the United States has increased 8 million. Now there are building material shortages of all kinds and shortages of manpower in the building trades. Everywhere, citizens were aware of the emergency. In the city halls of hundreds of cities, in state legislatures, and in Washington. In the committee rooms of the national capital, a solution was sought. Be it enacted that to meet this emergency, funds and the necessary authority will be forthcoming to launch the Veterans Program. The Veterans Emergency Housing Program is launched to help solve the housing emergency in hundreds of cities. The target, 2,700,000 homes and apartments started by the end of 1947. This can't be done overnight. Houses and apartments are not produced through miracles. This is the goal. The number of houses built in 1945 must in 1946 be 5 times greater, and in 1947, 6.5 times greater. This is a job on which government, industry, and labor will have to join in an all-out effort. The heart of this program lies in the community. To answer this pledge to the veterans, an emergency committee is created, a gathering of friends and neighbors. Called for the Mayor's Emergency Committee are a representative of veterans. It's their program, remember? And a local housing authority director. Here are a real estate dealer, a representative of home builders, and a representative of home financing institutions, representatives of the AFL and of minority groups. A delegate from the CIO, a newspaper editor. Women's organizations are represented too, representative of material producers and dealers, a regional housing expediter, and the head of the local Veterans Housing Referral Center.
All right, let's call the meeting to order. Let's hear the reports of our committees.
The war is not over. This is for Operation Hometown USA, to redeem its pledge to their veterans. Such emergency committees are at work in Worcester, Pittsburgh, Chicago, Salt Lake City, Los Angeles, right across the nation, in large cities and small. What has this committee already done for their veterans?
All right, the first report is that of our referral center.
Our subcommittee, Mr. Chairman, has completed plans for the opening of a clearinghouse for information on housing for all returning men of the armed services. In the referral center, we find out all we can about every veteran's needs. Here we give him consultation and advice. Does the veteran wish to build or rent? For rental, he is shown our classified listings. We have classified the type of vacancy that we receive. However, if the applicant wishes to build, the veteran is told how application may be made for a priority to the state or district office of the FHA, and he is also told where he may find out about a loan under the GI Bill of Rights.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Watkins. And now let's have the report of our publicity committee.
We of the Publicity Subcommittee have asked local radio stations to make appeals and interview veterans. Newspapers have given space to cut out coupons, cartoons, and feature articles. We have issued posters. Letters have been sent to all clergymen in town to request the property owners of their congregations to open their homes. Similar letters to service clubs, women's clubs, and all realtors. And finally, to all property owners. We've tried to make everyone aware that they must help in this emergency.
And you're certainly doing a good job. The next step in the Veterans Housing Program is a survey of the city's present housing situation. Our report on this comes from a man whose wide experience in housing and real estate well qualifies him as chairman of our subcommittee on planning. Si, let's have your report.
We've made a complete survey of all unused housing space in our town. We've had our Boy Scouts comb all the boroughs for extra space. Maybe upstairs over that garage, there's an unused room, a spare room or attic that could be used temporarily. We've asked all our folks, people who are so situated, if they'd consider remodeling large houses into additional apartments. That helps. Now that's how we've tried to take the edge off the housing shortage in our town until construction can get underway and catch up with all this demand.
And the demand is certainly great, isn't it, Tom?
It really is.
Tom and I have made a recount of substandard housing. Checked existing maps. We know just where we stand on that.
There are a lot of veterans in those houses. They should be considered.
Now here's one result of our survey. You'll recognize this as a map of our city. Here you'll find unused lots, some of them city-owned, taken over for back taxes. We've interviewed many of the owners of these vacant lots, tried to free them from cloudy titles. Now, many of these improved lots will be available for building within our price range. We've also made a study of the use of land beyond the city limits, land not serviced by city paving facilities.
Very good, Si. Good work. Now, about this construction that Si says must get underway.
It's pretty clear to us all that drastic steps must be taken. As local housing authority director, I want to report that we have established a veteran's preference for admission to our low-rent projects. The recount of substandard housing, based largely on our surveys, showed that there are many veterans' families living under slum conditions. Low-income veterans and their families are doubly handicapped in this emergency. We are trying to give them an even break.
Thank you very much indeed. That's what we're all here for. Now, target number 1, 1946. Target number 2, 1947. Now, how do we get there? What's our path? Well, to help us along our road, we have with us today a regional housing expediter, Mr. Walter King.
We all agree that the Veterans Emergency Housing Program is going to depend primarily on community action. But the federal government is going to do everything within its power to help, to channel materials into homes for veterans at the right prices, to utilize its resources to break bottlenecks on a national scale. All government agencies concerned with housing and materials which go into housing are cooperating with National Housing Expediter Wilson W. Wyatt. The Civilian Production Administration has the prime job of stimulating the greatest possible amount of production. The Office of Price Administration of keeping prices on materials in line. The Labor Department will turn its efforts in cooperation with labor to augmenting the manpower supply. And the 3 major units of the National Housing Agency will each have vital roles. The Federal Housing Administration, or FHA as it is known to every builder and millions of homeowners, is handling the arduous task of issuing priorities and of insurance of mortgages. The Federal Public Housing Authority has the vital job of providing 200,000 temporary homes for veterans as speedily as possible. This will be done by the reuse of the war housing supply in Army and Navy barracks, as well as by aiding the long-range public housing program for those of low income, operated through local housing authorities. And the Federal Home Loan Bank Administration will utilize its resources and those of its member institutions to aid in the financing of veterans' homes. As a town, you would do well to set a goal to shoot at, as your chairman states. But first, you must remember that the price factor of new houses is important. A War Department survey shows that 84% of the veterans throughout the nation can't afford more than a $6,000 house, can't pay more than $50 a month rent. And many of these families want to rent and are in no position to buy a house. How many houses will this town need to hit Target 1 and Target 2? To answer that, certain basic facts are called for.
Our referral center reports that the number of discharged veterans still seeking homes is 2,998.
Selective Service reports total number of men from this town in war service for the period of July 1st, 1940 to June 1st, 1946 is 6,451.
The 1946 population of this town is 59,963. No correction on that. 965. Twins arrived this morning at the city hospital.
A survey, part of which was made for us by our Boy Scouts, reports that the total number of habitable vacant dwelling units in this community is only 67. They're going fast.
Schedule A estimates future veteran requirements. Vacancies subtracted from requirements give an estimate of the number of houses needed, 2,931. For 1946, 1,304. For 1947, 1,627. The total number for which this community must assume responsibility.
That's too darn many. It can't be done. It's clear beyond this. Sight, it's impossible.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's got to be done. How? Well, here are 3 ways of meeting our goal, in addition to making available every possible vacant space in existing homes. First, by building in the usual conventional manner, the on-site construction which has provided the great volume of our homes and apartments in the past. Secondly, by prefabricated houses and houses of prefabricated parts constructed in the factory and assembled on the site. And thirdly, by temporary structures brought from other areas.
But we don't want any temporary buildings. Where will we put them?
But can we get the material? Can we get labor?
Ladies and gentlemen.
But these houses take time. Our veterans need roofs right now, and at a price that we can afford. These men can't wait.
This is a crisis, friends, and it calls for action. We've got to find homes for veterans. We all know the cost. It's not beyond our powers or ability as a city. We've got to find apartments and houses by every possible means. Now, I've heard that in a certain Midwestern city, interested parties were brought together. Real estate men made available, I believe, a 1,000-acre plot. Bankers and savings and loan people arranged for the financing. And then veterans who wished to build made application. The first contractor is building 400 low to moderate priced units as one job. I believe that this town can do the same if we pool our mutual interests. Of course, building contractors need stimulation, and I think that we should encourage the formation of new construction organizations. Now, what about materials? That is the biggest, most critical job facing us today. And that's one for you, Joe. That idle brickyard on Crescent Street. You can get that into operation again?
Yes, I can.
And we must do much more to break those bottlenecks. Sam? That sawmill of Jim Matthews is only one of several that can be made to increase its output of lumber.
Oh, sure, it'll take care of it.
Now, what about labor?
Labor can meet the demand. If materials are there, we can make the men available.
We'll recruit all the men needed for the job and train them as speedily as possible.
We can relax our apprenticeship requirements. If The building industry grows, labor will grow with it. Remember, labor has a great stake in the housing program, both as producer and consumer. And we're going to see it through.
It's pretty clear, I think, that we can't construct all the dwellings we need in the usual conventional manner. To achieve our target, we've got to use prefabrication. Now, the big advantage of prefabs, of course, is the speed of construction. Units are assembled in the factory by production line methods. Houses can be shipped within a limited radius of the factory. The prefabricated houses that we want are not flimsy structures. They will be built to high standards, and I'm sure that they'll be a real asset to the community.
Former service barracks and war housing are placed at the disposal of veterans. 200,000 of these units are being dismantled and moved through the Federal Public Housing Authority to cities and colleges where the need is extreme for immediate shelter. Available and serviceable, but they do not meet our permanent needs. When the emergency is over, they will be removed.
Well, this about concludes our meeting. We must remember that we're after rental housing, all we can get of it, because most veterans are in no position to buy homes. And even more important, we must eliminate non-essential construction and channel all materials to veterans' needs. This is really an emergency, friends, and I know that each and every one of you will cooperate. And now, let's have a discussion and a vote.
But the important thing is early decision. Decision about land for the necessary constructions, land for all income groups. Questions about city paving and extension of facilities. If construction is really to get going, codes must be amended to still give protection, but not hold up production. Zoning must be reappraised. Yes, the important thing for every committee is to face their local problems and argue them out in the democratic process. Opinions stated, problems faced, solutions evaluated. But the important thing is the need for concerted action.
All right. All those in favor?
Hundreds of these committees in hundreds of towns are facing their housing emergency, facing their problems with full use of their resources. Over and above, they plan their future and the future of the nation. Building should grow to be the major United States industry. Better living conditions are ahead for us all. City planners and planning commissions, builders, labor, financing agencies, local housing authorities, civic groups, alert citizens everywhere are meeting the enlarged demands of the 20th century. Cities will plan their growth. Communities will provide more neighborhoods where men and women can live in comfort and dignity. There will be wider spaces, community facilities for all, more air and sunlight, more living rooms, more houses, and a rich, full life for everyone. But in the meantime, right now,
I've got to have a home.
let's do it. Let's give him a home.
going. I'm home.
I'm really wonderful. That cool.
You Ralph. Ralph. How are you? You look
And was dark green, honestly. What a different thing.
Well, I guess I'll drift down to the old sugar bowl and scare up the old gang. Okay? Okay. Hey, gang! Old Ralphie's back! Sheesh. Old Ralphie. Hello, Maisie?
Mommy, a man wants to talk to you.
Hello, Hazel? What? Hello, Jeanette?
Sorry, I guess
Married? Hi, Barbara.
Sorry, I guess
Going out with your mother-in-law. Linda? Grandma? Hello, Betty? No. Marge? Husband? What's wrong, anyway? Everything seems different. I wonder what my old GI buddies are doing. I wonder if I ought to re-enlist.
Don't say it! Don't even think it! You're too smart, Ralphie boy. Got a light? And besides, I'm here to help you. You ain't got no more troubles. Here, hold this. Now, I just happen to have here... Now then, let's get some sense into that boyish head of yours. Now, first thing you gotta do is... Look, Ralphie, ignore this joker. He's in the pay of you-know-who. Here, give me a drag off that thing. All we want is the facts, man. Facts, eh? I'll fax you, Buster. This is what the average civilian in your age bracket earns a month. You may fire when ready, Grizzly. Need I say more? That's over $100 difference. Plus family allowances, of course, and automatic raises, and foreign service pay, and promotions. Sure, but look what you gotta do for all that dough. Slosh around in the mud all day. And you can pick your career before you re-enlist. Re-enlist? Are you nuts? We ain't re-enlisting in nothing. We don't want to look like no toy soldier. Look at these civilian clothes. Sharp, eh? Yeah, like I say. But we're gonna work our way through school nights. Study up. Be a big shot. While in service, of course. Don't be taken in, kid. We'll get ourselves a good job. 2 weeks vacation every year at good old Lake Morsey Log. In the Army, that is. So what? Who wants to live in a barracks all your life? Stick with me, kid. We'll live in luxury. Government insured, of course.
Okay, wise guy. Retirement.
In the Army. Or...
Don't listen to him. We'll strike uranium in your backyard. We can invent something. Dehydrated water. Just add water.
And with that fat bonus, too.
Holy cow! Come on, hurry up. We'll inherit Fort Knox. We'll strike. Oh! We'll invent the wheel.